Hey loves, welcome back to my channel guys. If you're new here, welcome. I am Danny, and on this channel we talk about all things that make you the best version of yourself, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So if these are things that interest you, feel free to subscribe to the channel, watch this video all the way through, and if you resonate with it, like, comment, share, and subscribe. So as you guys can see by the title, we're doing a shadow work series. Shadow work can get very deep, so I kind of wanted to put this in like different parts. So today we're going to be talking about what shadow work actually is, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys the one thing that I've been doing that's honestly helped me with my journey. So if you don't know what shadow work is, it's pretty much going in to the subconscious mind, to those parts of ourselves that we suppress, right? Because a lot of us, like 95% of the things that we pick up are in our subconscious mind, especially from the ages from when you're born to 5 years old. You're taking everything in. So everything you know, everything you feel, everything you are becoming is based off of your family. So sometimes when we grow up, we're taught to suppress certain feelings or certain behaviors because it's unauthentic or it's not right, right? So maybe you grew up in an environment where you may have been somebody that was sensitive and very big on emotion, which is nothing wrong with it. But growing up, you probably had a parent who was emotionally neglectful and would tell you, don't cry, you're dramatic. Don't cry, you're being too sensitive. And so growing up, you were taught that you don't need to cry. And so now you are older, you may think to yourself, oh, I never cry. Oh, I'm strong. Like I can literally go through anything. But deep within, you have these suppressed emotions and feelings where you are very sensitive, where you are very emotional. You just don't know how to embrace those parts of yourself. That stays in the subconscious, right? And then subconsciously, you find yourself being stressed. Subconsciously, you find yourself being overwhelmed for the smallest things. But consciously, you think, well, I'm strong. I can get through anything. I don't need to cry, right? Because that's what you were taught. And I think that that's what it is. Like the unconscious mind is the parts of us that we don't realize are weighing heavy on ourselves. And honestly, like over the years, shadow work has become very popular, and a lot of people are interested in doing that because now that we're older, we're realizing like we're in relationships where we lack emotional maturity, we lack emotional accountability, we don't know how to have certain conversations, and so that puts us in relationships and friendships where there's no communication, there's no boundaries, there's like a lot of things, because it doesn't have to just be about emotions, but it could be certain behaviors that you suppress, certain thoughts, certain ways of being that you suppress. And so you go into these relationships not being your true authentic selves, and then these relationships don't really last, and it's because you have things that you have to work on, which is why it's so important to go deep within and reprogram your subconscious mind and kind of go deep and kind of see in what areas in your life you can be better at, because we all have a shadow part. And the idea of having a shadow part isn't always negative, because you can always, you can always change that. And I'm always telling you guys, what you are not changing, you are choosing, right? If you do not like a part of yourself, if you feel like there's something that is weighing you down, you have the power to change it. And one of the ways that I started implementing more shadow work into my life is through journaling. I wanted to talk about this because I'm very big on journaling. I literally always have a notebook with me, and I'm always writing everything down. And this is a good way to start because it doesn't push you to change right away. It doesn't push you to prove to anybody that you're trying to change. It's kind of more for yourself, and it's about you taking accountability in those moments, because sometimes it can be hard to take accountability. It can be hard to talk about those things that you don't talk about, or talk about the pains and the fears and the way you grew up. And so when you start writing it out for yourself, you're seeing it yourself, you're able to analyze it yourself. Again, shadow work is your own personal journey. It's not something that somebody could come and hold your hand to. Like, you got to put in that work because it's your shadow, it's your dark parts. And not a lot of people know about that because you're so good at, just covering it up. It's your shadow part. So nobody really knows that you have these things going on. So it's also very intimate and very personal. And this is why, like, I think that journaling is like the best way to start, even if it's just 10 minutes a day of just writing. And it can honestly be about anything. It can be about your day, right? Maybe something happened today. What happened today, right? Write about it. It can be about your week. You can write about your past, right? And you can write affirmations. Like, you can write and get comfortable with kind of the idea of like, okay, everything that I'm thinking, processing, I can just write it out. That kind of gives you, that kind of helps you with communication as well, because now you're getting comfortable with the idea of letting your emotions flow. Okay, because emotions are energy and motions. Our emotions are made to flow. We're not made to suppress and hold on to that. So start slow, right? What made you happy today? What made you frustrated today? What made you sad today? Start in little ways like that. And it might seem like silly at first, because like, why do I want to write? Like, what's the point? But as time goes on, it gets more deep, it gets more intimate. Again, it's a journey. And like I said, it takes a lot of energy. So you don't have to be super ambitious when you start. Like me, I can write for hours. It's so crazy. But there's people that can't even write for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, because they just don't have it in them. So when you start, take it slow, right? Maybe set a timer on your phone for 5, 10 minutes, write, free write. I love creative writing. I think it's so fun. Free write. 10-minute timer goes off, reread it. What came out, right? Those are going to pinpoint little parts of you. And sometimes instead of making yourself the practitioner or the leader of your shadow work journal, you can actually pull up some prompts that correlate with you, with anything that you want to work on. If you know that you probably grew up in a childhood that wasn't the best, or you likely had certain insecurities, maybe you want to write specifically about those things. We are so blessed and honored to have access to the internet, right? Social media, Google, ChatGPT, like, and you can literally get your own customized journal prompt specifically for you in whatever areas you want to heal from, or whatever areas you think that will benefit you. If you want to see where your insecurities come from, maybe looking up journal prompts about insecurities. If you want to look up, you know, why you don't really have good relationships with people, you can look at you can look at journal prompts. You can look at journal prompts surrounding relationships. Shadow work is so big. There are so many parts of us that can be healed, that need to be worked on. But also, I think that just looking up general journal prompts, especially for beginners, is very helpful if you're starting, because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself of, oh, what do I need to work on? Because when I started shadow working, I became so hyper fixated on wanting to change and wanting to heal every part of myself. And it happens, because once you start it, it's like, oh shoot, like I can do this, right? So you want to fix every little thing, but sometimes there are little parts of you that you don't really need to change, but you think that you do because you're just so hyper focused on it. And it's like, sometimes like you're just gonna have certain traits and certain parts of you, and I think that that's okay. It makes you who you are, as long as it's not negatively affecting you, and it's not pushing you away from people and opportunities like that. So definitely take it slow. Don't overthink it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, because I've personally been there where it's like, oh my god, I want to change every little thing. Oh my god, every little hiccup. Take it slow. And another important aspect of any personal growth thing is celebrating yourself, celebrating your wins, celebrating those small moments, because it can take a lot to be vulnerable. A lot of us are taught that vulnerability is wrong, or that it's weak, it makes you weak, but it's actually very, like, you are very strong for deciding to be vulnerable, for deciding that it's okay to have emotions, it's okay to be different, it's okay to, heal. So you want to celebrate yourself always, because it is a lot of work to go deep within and analyze and observe, change those hidden parts of ourselves. Because when you're doing shadow work, you're literally getting to know yourself, because you're really going to start realizing, like, wow, like there's parts of me that I didn't even realize I was hiding from. I didn't even realize I was running away from. And then you'll also notice, like, damn, there's certain habits that I have that stem from that suppression, right? Like sometimes people, they have an obsession with cleaning, OCD. They have an obsession with, having, and it may come from the fact that you're a perfectionist. And maybe you're a perfectionist because you were always scolded and criticized growing up and taught to be a certain way, or it's wrong and stuff. And it reflects on that behavior of you always cleaning, always wanting everything to be perfect, because you were taught that you have to be perfect. So everything that you do revolves around perfection. And it's so cool how the mind works and how it sends those signals. And we find ourselves doing things like that out of trauma response. So you'll start to learn that about yourself when you start doing shadow work for sure. Same with being messy. There's sometimes people that are very disorganized, very messy because maybe they didn't have that stability growing up, right? Maybe they didn't have that attention growing up and they were just kind of abandoned in a way and like emotionally neglected. And so they just never were taught to take care of themselves and stuff. So it reflects on how they take care of themselves when they're older, right? And how they just are disorganized and careless because they were treated as if they were just careless growing up, which is very interesting. It's something that I've noticed. This last tip can definitely be optional, but it really depends on the person. I personally didn't go to therapy when I did my shadow work. Like I've been to therapy before, and it's helped a little bit, but when it came to shadow work, it's something I wanted to do on my own. But sometimes people need that. So definitely if you have a trusted friend or a therapist or somebody that you can go to kind of let these things out. And I always say especially when I'm venting to my friends or someone new, I'll literally tell them like, I'm talking not because I want to hear what you have to say, but kind of so I can let it out and feel better about the fact that I'm kind of like being vulnerable and letting it out. And I also use my platform for that now. But yeah, definitely find somebody if that's something that works for you. Because there is a lot of people that really need to verbally process what they're going through. And I'm kind of that person. Like if I'm going through something or I'm feeling aware or I'm indecisive, I need to verbally process it. And so sometimes I'll like look at myself in the mirror and I'll give myself that reminder. I'll talk to myself. So I know there's a lot of people like that. So you can definitely share it with somebody that you feel is like obviously not going to be biased, not going to be judgmental, just there to listen. I also brought some journal prompts to share with you guys just in case you guys wanted to start doing this today. So I'm going to share with you guys the journal prompts that worked for me. This is a really good one. So what situations may make me want to lie or fudge the truth? I think a lot of us can benefit from this one because it is a trauma response to lie, and not because we want to be bad people, but sometimes we want to hide parts of ourselves. So we may not want to share, we may not want to be vulnerable, so we might lie or kind of like react or respond differently than how we feel internally. So when you think about like what moments do I do that, it really puts you in another position. It really makes you process like, okay, this is when I do it. Why do I do it? You know, like for me, I used to get so scared because I was always like getting yelled at when I was younger and getting scolded for like the smallest things. And so when I started getting like growing up, sometimes somebody would ask me something and I'll automatically just like lie, like, oh no, I didn't do it, and I did. And it was a trauma response. It was impulsive, you know, it was just quick because I didn't want to get yelled at. I didn't want to get scolded. I didn't want to get judged. And I recognized that really quickly about myself. And I was like, that has to change, you know, because it's unnecessary. And of course, you know, it's like what I always say, it's like when you're learning these things about yourself, don't punish yourself for it. Understand it. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm a liar, I feel bad, and I feel like I'm a victim. Like no, like it happens. The next one is, what situations are the most triggering in your life and why? We always talk about how doing shadow work forces you to kind of go within your triggers, because like we said in the last video that I made, when you are triggered, it's because you have an old wound in you and you have something in you that you need to work on or that has hurt you. So definitely going in and realizing like, when do I get triggered? Why? What are they doing, saying? And how does it affect me? So that's a good one. Oh, this is a really good one. What do I believe about myself, right? So oftentimes, like, when we're doing shadow work, we're gonna realize that who we think we are isn't actually who we are, if you know what I mean. So maybe you grew up, like I said, feeling worthless and unconfident because you didn't have that support growing up. And so maybe when you look at that question and you say, what do I believe about myself? You might say, I believe I'm a shy person, right? Or I believe that, you know, I'm antisocial. And maybe that's not true about you. Maybe you can be very confident, but you have that belief that you're not because of your upbringing. So when you make that list of when you make that list of what do I believe in myself, you can reflect on it and you can be like, okay, is this belief actually true? Or is it just an opinion based off of other people and my upbringing? And you can change that about yourself. So I love journal prompts because I think it really makes you be more open, aware, and mindful. I have a lot, so we're just gonna do one more just because I have so many. Which feelings and emotions do I try to hide? I think that that's a good one. Kind of reflecting on your emotions and your feelings. And yeah, a lot of us, we try to hide certain parts of ourselves. And when you can figure out why, it just becomes easier. But like I said, I think that people should, if you're doing shadow work and you know there's an area you want to fix, you should look up your own shadow work prompts. Like if you're trying to find more confidence, finding shadow work prompts specifically about like insecurities and confidence. If you want to be a better communicator, maybe finding shadow work prompts about communication. And that always ties back, like it'll always tie back to your past. It will always tie back to those parts of you that, like I said, you suppressed. We're gonna talk in the next video about what other things you can do to shadow work, because it's not just journaling. There's so many different aspects and different parts of shadow work. So if this video resonated with you, definitely like the video, comment below what your favorite thing was, or comment below a shadow work prompt that works for you if you've been doing shadow work yourself. But definitely let's connect with each other. Follow me on TikTok because that's where I make a lot of my videos, and this is also a great platform for us to connect. I go live every day on there, so it's a great way for you guys to get to know me, not just as a creator, a teacher, but as a person. And you guys kind of get to hear my story, ask the questions you want. So if you want to get a little bit more of me, that's the place to be. Thank you so much for being in this video today. Thank you for watching. I love every single one of you, and I hope that you have a great time healing. And again, if you guys have any suggestions, let me know and I'll get back to you. Bye.